as a breath of fresh air and an enlightened new perspective. And she has been featured in publications like the New York Times, Real Simple, Yoga Journal, and the Denver Post. She is a sought-after speaker who has appeared at venues like the Omega Institute and Loyola University and on numerous radio and television programs, combining a unique gift of powerful intuition, channeled wisdom from departed loved ones, and practical career know-how. Sue will lift you into the mystical to heal grief and find purpose. Her best-selling book, I See Your Dream Job, A Career Intuitive, shows you how to discover what you were put on earth to do, published by St. Martin's Press, has changed the lives of thousands worldwide. And today, Reverend Sue will discuss today's date, the date of 12/13 and also 12/31, its divinity, as well as the implications for 2024, seeing through a divine lens for the new year. She will also discuss tapping into the angelic realm for guidance and how to calculate your soul path using sacred numerology. So there might be someone who could get a reading, right? Sue, Dr. Sue?
Yes, we'll pick one person. That's up to you guys to pick somebody.
Okay. So we'll give you instructions later on how to calculate your soul path on Sue's website. But if you want to go there now, it's SueFrederick.com. And where is it on the website? It's top right?
On the top nav bar, it's on the right side and it says Soul Path Calculator. You can just go there and input your date of birth. And then if you are ready for a reading, if I have time to do that, then I'll just say, what does the calculator say? And you'll tell me and I can give you a mini reading.
What a gift. I mean, what a blessing. That is so incredible. And Reverend Sue has so many incredible life-changing stories. And she shares a lot of her own journey on the past Humanities Team live event back in October. So we're not going to go too deep into that, but her story is so powerful. And you can find that video on our YouTube channel or our live events page. I really love that interview, though, that you did with Steve. It was so touching.
Oh,
And
it was so fun too.
It was fun, right? Yeah. And I applied one of your suggestions by seeing through my soul's lens to a challenging situation just actually a few days ago. And it really seemed to completely dissipate it into love. So,
good.
Yeah, I really appreciated that.
And Charissa, that's our call to action in 2024. It's going to be quite a year. And so all of us need to be shifting into our soul's view to move through it. But I'll get to that when you're ready to bring that topic up.
No, I mean, that's fine. I mean, because it was the perfect time to bring it up because I was saying that I applied it to this situation. So that was practice, right? For the new year to hopefully live even more from that space.
Yes. Well, it's such a pivotal time in consciousness. It really is. And we all know that. We can feel it. There's so much, you can say chaos and conflict, as well as bright light and awareness and awakening all happening at the same time. And that is really what we planned for this pinnacle point of this coming year,
as
2024.
A breath of fresh air, which is and an enlightened.
I'm hearing weird things.
Yeah.
Sound.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Are we good now? Hey, that must be the voice of the spirit guide.
Was that spirit? That was my voice, but I was like, what?
They're trying to tell us, yes, 2024 is going to be quite a powerful year.
Thank you.
So first, let me start with the date of December 31st, 2023, which is the last day of this year.
Okay.
Because it gives us this beautiful jumping off point to the 2024 energy that starts the next day. And the 12/31/2023 year, when we look at it as 12/31/23, and it take away the slashes, it says 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, when do you say that in your life? You say it when you're about to do something courageous or exciting, like you're about to jump off a cliff and dive into the water. You go 1, 2, 3, and you jump, right? So that's how I want you all to think of that date of December 31st, as well as this new year. And I don't mean anything negative. I just mean this 2024 year is going to be an 8 universal year, which is a number of power. It's not going to be a year you forget for the rest of your lives. It's going to be a historical year filled with surprises, and people in the higher realms of power in our world. We'll see some power abuse, and we'll also see the right use of power, meaning empowering others. And that arc of learning in the 8 says, forever, humanity is trying to understand the right use of power. And once they really get that as a collective, the planet shifts into the true light place that it's meant to be for humanity's evolution. And how exciting that 2024 offers us that opportunity to all take a stand in the light for the highest and best use of power in the world. I'm not just talking about in our country. And, when we look at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 again, that those numbers said back to back like that, they add up to the number 6. 6 is a world number of taking care of the world, healing and nurturing others. And we are really on the pivotal point of saying, how will we treat humanity moving forward? And so much is chosen and decided in 2024. So for all of us listening, it's a very simple solution. Our solution is that no matter what happens in 2024, whatever upsets us, we are here to be the light for it. And I show you the vision behind me again that I was given in 2014, where the guides and angels, I was out of my body, I was sick, and I was held and saw the planet Earth from a distance. And they were telling me, no, every time somebody opens their heart and remembers that they're a divine being and that they are here to love one another, that sends a light up from their heart chakra that illuminates all the darkness and helps other souls spark and awake. And so with that beautiful thought in mind, all of us need to enter 2024 saying, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going to stand for light and love and compassion and goodness. I'm taking my stand for the light. And that way we succeed in our hopeful plan here, that we really turn the world into a place where power is used to help each other rather than to hinder or hurt or destroy each other. And the other thing that's so cool to know, and then I'll shut up and you can ask me more questions, Charissa. But the other thing is that the cycle that we're now going into an 8 universal year in January of 2024. This cycle began in 2017. That was a 1 universal year for the world. And so we can go back and say, things really took a notch up towards craziness in 2017. So many things happened then to begin to bring us on this arc, to bring us to this pivotal point of entering the 8 year, the power year. And then we look at, when will this cycle end in numerology? And it ends in 2025. So the good news is, by 2025, we have completed the cycle. We have completed the lesson. We have accomplished it. We have taken a stand for the light. And we may need divine help to do that. And so I do believe that that divine help is here to help all of us. And I also think it's why so many people are channeling in guides and angels now, because they're all about helping us. They want Earth to succeed. We are humanity's team, as we all know, in this group that we're part of. And so it's a beautiful opportunity. You are all going to stand in the light of love, compassion, and goodness in these next 2 years. And then humanity will have really fulfilled this beautiful mission that we're on.
That's amazing. I feel like what you said about your own experience and the vision behind you and what they shared with you really can inspire us to stay grounded in that truth and light that we are important and that we matter, and that energy makes a difference.
It
So
really does. Yeah.
it's so
Even
exciting.
even those of us who feel powerless in our lives or powerless in politics or even financially, we have to realize that our soul matters, our light matters. And there's nobody here who's powerless or worthless or any of those words we use. We are all carrying our unique light that comes into the world through our unique gifts. And we're all needed. It's like a great big puzzle, and everybody has this very special piece that they agreed to bring to it. And so this is the year that we all say, I'm going to get over my anger at the world and my disappointment at people who are unconscious. And instead, I'm going to focus on how do I bring my best light, my best self, and my gifts to the world in a way that empowers myself and others. And then we're doing it.
That's incredible. I wanted to go back to one of the things you mentioned about power. And maybe you might see in the world a heightened abuse of power. And is that because it's becoming out of control, and so we can see it, and it's becoming transparent so it can be transmuted to light? Like, why would it be getting abused and out of control when we have this
Yes.
like beautiful other side of us that is trying to break through?
Such an important question. And if we even go back to 2017, everything is an arc of learning here, an arc of learning in each of our own soul journeys and in our collective consciousness together. So we were dealing with other things, and yet the darkness that needed to be healed, that needed to be brought into the light, didn't really begin to fully show itself until 2017. And then all of us, we were angry at each other and arguing about politics or arguing about COVID or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
This was all the beginning of us going, wait, I had no idea so many people felt such and such a way, right? I had no idea there was maybe still so much prejudice in our country, especially. And everything came up to be understood and held in the light so it could be healed and transformed. It has to be brought into the light, or we don't even know it exists. And that has been the purpose of this arc of learning that started collectively for us in 2017 and culminates in 2025 with lesson accomplished.
Wow, that is incredible. It's so encouraging. Like, I have so much hope from your message and how you outline it, because it doesn't seem like that far away, 2025. So
Right.
that's amazing. So what can we do? What can an individual do to prepare for 2024 for, within the next few weeks that
Yeah.
we have?
Well, we have to be, in Unity Ministerial School, we used to always say, well, you got to get prayed up before you go do such and such. And I always kind of liked that term because it means before I go and do something, first I need to connect to higher self, God consciousness. I need to say, please, and we can all do this. I mean, we can just close our eyes. I like to even raise my head to pull away from looking at earthly details and just look up and say, please, divine guides, God consciousness, angelic beings, please lift me up so that I see my life and the world from the higher perspective of higher consciousness. And then I will be able to move forward with grace and wisdom, no matter what happens. Back to back like that, they add up to the number 6. 6 is That's so weird.
We're having spiritual intervention.
Yes, the angels are speaking.
I've never had that happen.
I know. And not only that, but I'm sure the spirits, I saw some people in the feed who are clients that I recognize, and they have powerful spirits on the other side. And
Oh.
I know that those kids especially love to mess with technology and say, hey, we're here.
Okay. It's not me. I promise. My hands aren't on the keyboard.
Right.
We're experiencing divinity
Yes.
in this live event. It's amazing.
Well, that's so interesting too, Charissa, because one of the things I really wanted to help people understand today is that we all have this team that's ready to help us, and we can call them guides, angelic beings, God consciousness helpers, higher self, whatever words makes us recognize it and be comfortable with it. And they are available to us. But one of the laws of this earthly universe that we agree to when we drop in here to have a lifetime is that they can't interfere unless we request help, or we wouldn't learn anything, because they would go, oh, let's take that painful thing out of her path, And so we say, all right, well, look, when I'm in the middle of my pain, I will remember to call out and say, please lift me above this. Show me a different way to see it and heal from it, especially grief. Grief is our greatest spiritual teacher. And so help me move through this with a different understanding of it. That request is always answered.
Yeah, interesting. I know you said something about pain. Now, would it be appropriate to ask them for help to take the pain away, or is pain an important process that would be healing? Is it transformative?
Well, I have been asking that question since I was in high school, and I was a Catholic girl and the nuns were teaching me. And I remember writing this thing and saying, suffering is good for the soul. It helps us grow. And yet now from all the things I've studied, all the religious traditions and talking to the guides, I believe that pain is one way we can grow. And it is the most assured way to wake our soul up. But we decide, we choose it before the life begins. So in other words, I could have chosen a path of ease and abundance and joy, and hopefully have been evolved enough to be able to never surrender to greed or abuse of power or any of that. But most souls know that when you get to earth, you forget who you are. You forget your divinity. And if suddenly you're focused on all the wrong things, then you can get very lost here. So I know personally, I signed up for some grief, some loss, so that I would have to wake up. I would be in so much pain that I would go on a spiritual seeking journey to find answers that resonated as true. And any of you who've been through grief, who've maybe even lost a career, have gone bankrupt, have lost a loved one, had health issues, these are all nudges of the soul, not to hurt us or stop us, but to help us shift into our higher self and our higher perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. Yeah, right. It's only one way. There's many ways that we can ascend and connect. Yes.
I have a girlfriend who's also an intuitive, and we have so much fun laughing about all these things. And we go, what were we thinking, right? Like next time we're going to approve each other's life plans and we're going to go for the easy peasy path.
Well, yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, are there some souls that actually know that they're divine? They come in here. I mean, it seems like babies know they are.
Well, babies always know that. Yes.
Okay.
And the whole process of childhood and the way we educate our children and how we tell them to behave and follow the rules and not really follow their intuition, all of that begins the process of kind of shutting children down to their higher self and who they are. And yet what I know to be true is that the newer generations of kids all the way up to the early 30-year-old kids are highly evolved souls who've been to Earth many times, and they agreed to come in this time and really see through the crack in the world early on, and first be upset about it and then learn to take their place as a solution, a light holder. And so that's why these 20-something kids, so many of them are so aware and so awake, and also why they refuse to follow the crazy paradigm we've handed them that says, oh, well, financial security, the only way you can have that is if you go take a stupid job that pays you a lot that you hate, and then on your spare time you can be spiritual. That is so wrong. And they are finally really breaking that idea for us and going, I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to find meaningful work. I'm going to create my career from that meaningful work, align with my soul, and never look back. And that's what we're trying to create here on Earth.
Sounds amazing. So, do you ever take into consideration Chinese astrology when you're doing it, or no?
You know, I've had a reading that way, but what I would say for our culture and our time and place, I think what we've got going here is the usual astrology that we're used to,
Okay, yeah,
and the numerology that we're used to, and it fits our Western culture
I see.
a little easier than some of the other. And plus, you know, I love Eastern traditions and philosophies. I've lived in an ashram, a Hindu ashram, but I'm just saying for here, there's a certain purpose. We're born into this energy of the
That
way
makes
that
sense.
sun signs are looked at.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, how can we calculate our soul path based on numerology, and why is that important?
Well, first of all, there's so many tools to help us remember who we are. And you can look at astrology, numerology, you know, there's a million different techniques that people use to say, oh, now I remember. And for me, numerology was the one that helped me when my husband Paul had died in 1979, and I was angry at the world. Like, why do good people suffer? Do we have to suffer? Like, where did he go? Why can't I go with him? All those questions we ask. And grief counseling did not help me. It actually kind of made me mad because at that time, grief counselors mostly said, you know, you've got to get over this. You got to let go of Paul. He's gone. And I knew that wasn't true. I could feel him around me. And it was only when I sat down with a numerologist who said, oh, yeah, you agreed to this life plan of doing a lot of hard work to help shift consciousness. And you had a soul agreement with Paul of the number 9, which means hardest, highest, most important lessons you would go through together. And Paul was on the path of freedom and courage and lessons through the body, the path of the 5. And so together you would find each other. He would burn up some stuff he had long wanted to burn up through his own physical suffering. You would be the witness, the love, the caretaker, so that you would be ripped apart and find your spiritual seeking journey at the age of 29. And that's how numerology changed my life in 1980. And I've been obsessed with it ever since and making my living from it for 20 years. So I'm very grateful for numerology.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, how does our soul path number play a part with the year number?
So there's 2 different things you're kind of talking about, and I'm going
Okay.
to use you as an example.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I did give Reverend Sue
Yes.
my birth date.
Charissa gave me the number, and I did the soul path calculation. And so she is a Taurus 8 path. Now, when you talk about strength in the physical world, ability to accomplish things, and yet be very grounded and strong with that Taurus energy, and the 8 being the number of power. I mean, you can look at Charissa and go, yeah, she figured out early on in her journey how to empower others. She figured out being a healer helper was the best use of this 8 energy in her path. And so her being on the 8th path has really mastered that lesson in her arc of learning. Probably early in her life, there were other people who acted out the wrong use of power around her to sort of show her who she did not want to be, how she did not want to use power. And here she is now on humanity's team, using it correctly. And then, Charissa, you'll be going into in January, you're going to be starting what's called a 5 personal year, a year of great change and adventure and courage and a real sense of expansion. And the universal collective year will be that 8. And so you will not be, I would say you're going to have your own journey that's not going to be touched very much by the outward world and everything that happens. And you're going to constantly be in alignment with your open heart, your courageous self, and doing greater and greater work, maybe even speaking more and more places, writing books, all of that. That year of expansion is going to be awesome for you. Whereas some people on different paths might have a different kind of reaction to the 8. It's your gig, Charissa. You are an 8 path. You're a master of it. So I want to be your friend in 2024.
Okay, we can be friends. I guess so. Wow, what an incredible reading. Thank you so much. And like we said in the beginning of our show, that we are here for you. Reverend Sue will do a reading for you if you'd like to raise your hand, and we can bring you up or not. So
well, I see some people. I want you to pick because it's too hard for me to pick.
Okay, got it. All right, I will pick Sandra. I'm going to, and I just want to tell you, make sure ahead of time that you've gone to the website, careerintuitive.org, and calculator. So make sure you have that figured out because she'll need that number. So yeah, iPhone Sandra. Can you come up? Can someone for some reason I can't unmute her. Jim or Garth, can you help with that? There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi there. Hi. I've got my numbers here on my screen.
Okay. Oh, on your screen. Can you tell me what they are?
Yes. So it starts off with my astrological sign is Scorpio. Then its linear method is 28/1 path.
Perfect.
My age is 61. Stacks method is 10/1 path. Single digit method is 19/1 path. And personal year is 17/8.
Oh, okay. This is such the angels are in charge of this, clearly. So Sandra, as a Scorpio 1, you came to learn to, first of all, overcome self-doubt and believe in yourself. And that's kind of a lifelong arc of learning that everywhere you've gone in your life, there has been a moment or a question of, am I good enough to do this? Am I good enough to be this? And yet on the 1 path, what we're trying to learn is, I am worthy and I am unique, and you have a very unique point of view, unique gifts. And so you're here to be a visionary and a leader for your unique gifts and to not let the world in any way make you doubt yourself. Some of the greatest visionaries of our time have been on the 1 path. And for example, Martin Luther King Jr. is a 1 path. And you think about his life. He struggled so much. He doubted himself. He doubted if anyone was listening to his message because the 60s were so tumultuous, and part of the Black movement was saying we need violence to change the world. And his message was, no, we have to love one another. It has to be nonviolent. And of course, most of the white population was saying, no way, are white people the same as Black people? And so the message that the visionary gave us was, it's not the color of our skin, but what's in our heart that matters. That's the most beautiful message ever given to humanity. That was a one path visionary. And for you, Sandra, you are the Scorpio one, which means you've been through pain in this life because you agreed to experience it so you would be the healer. And you have more of a healing gift, meaning, I don't know what you do for a living, but you definitely have an ability to work with energy or be an intuitive or heal people's physical bodies with alternative means. But everything you do is a little bit left of center. It's a little bit alternative and unique because that's your path. And I'll say one more thing and I'll shut up and you can tell me if any of it resonates. But you're in this current year, you're in an 8 personal year. So this whole year of 2023 for you has been a year of owning your power. But when January starts, you go into a 9 personal year. It's an ending of a cycle for you, but then the world comes in with that big 8 energy. And so I would say for you, maybe that means you're really ending a certain career in 2024, so that in 2025, you start your new cycle with a more powerful and bigger career. Does any of that resonate?
It does. Thank you so much, Reverend Sue. So in my life, I have had a lot of suffering. I lost various family members, my sister, my mum and my dad. Just this past year, my mum died from a major stroke, and I spent almost all year by her side. During this time, I've been transitioning with my career, like you say. I've been a tour guide. I live in Scotland. And you might see there's a little Loch Ness monster here on my shoulder. But I'm in Sardinia.
So perfect in a way because you're the leader, you're the tour guide. You're saying, come on this trip and let me show you a different way of understanding the world.
That's right. And I've been doing that for many years. And I've also been just training in this past year, spiritually, doing many different courses. I've been doing those for years and years. But specifically this year, I'm doing, on the practical side, it's called a Before I Go Solutions course, which is like helping people to prepare for transitioning and death on a practical level. And then also in mediumship as well.
Oh,
and
this
so
is so good, Sandra. This is so good. So I would say that 2024 is your last year as a tour guide, or at least a tour guide of the physical world.
Yes. And it was funny because when we started our end of life training course, and it's through a lady who has connections with the Findhorn Foundation in the north of Scotland. And she said, well, this course you're all on, and she wasn't just addressing it to me. She said, it's like being an end of life tour guide. Yes. And I was like, oh, wow. You know,
that's right. That's so perfect. Oh, Sandra, thank you for being on this call because you totally example of how the numbers can help us understand our journey. And yes, you are an end of life crossing over into the divine tour guide. And as soon as you get confidence to do that, you know, and confidence in our world often comes from getting another certification or taking an online course. And I personally believe we all need to constantly be studying new things. And, you know, I went to ministry school in my late 60s because I really wanted to take a stand for the light, for the higher God consciousness. My soul wanted to do that. So your soul is pulling you now to change your title to medium, after death tour guide, all of these beautiful visionary things that you can bring people to in order to ease pain in the world. Well done.
That's my mission. And thank you so much to all of you. It's such a supportive environment. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for being here.
And Charissa, I was wondering, did we talk about December 13th? Because I feel like we should
did you want to bring that up? Let's talk about it
before we run out of time, because that's today.
Yes. Let's talk about the energies of today.
Yes. So December 13th, first I want to talk about the number 13. I've worked with so many clients, and I know that many of us have had pretty profound awakening things happen to us on a date of the 13th. And, you know, I'm not saying superstitious stuff, like I'm not saying, no, it's always bad or anything, but let me just show you how it's affected my life. So when I was in high school, I was kicked, accidentally kicked in the face and in my hands in a gymnastics class on the 13th, and broke my first bones, and kind of had a big wake up call about, wait, who am I? I was in high school, and kind of that was a big nudge for me. And then in July 13th of 1980, well, July 13th of 1979, my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer. And on that date, he was given 2 years to live, and I mean, 2 weeks to live. And we said, no, no, no. And we prolonged his life for another year by doing alternative and conventional healing and spiritual healing. And then he crossed on July 13th the following year. And so 13 became this portal for me of, oh, this is when you really begin to see who you are. And yes, it may be a kick in the face. It may hurt for a minute, but it's going to take you down this portal of learning and growth that your soul really wanted you to go on. And so I fast forward, I've had many other 13 experiences, and then we fast forward to a 13th in 2018. It was February, or no, March 13th. My current husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he was told that he had a very grim outlook, not much time. And I said to him, well, this is your journey. Tell me how you want to do it. And he said, oh, I'm not going to die. And he said, we're moving to Arizona because the only doctor who gives me hope is at Mayo Clinic. So we packed up the family home in Boulder, and on it, we wanted to move like in June. And because of the way houses sell and don't sell and all this stuff, we didn't arrive here until December 13th of 2018. And I say that with a laugh because the day we walked in this house was the first time I'd ever seen it. My husband had been down here and I was up there selling the other house. And so I walked into my new home, my new life on the 13th, knowing nobody, and then immediately went upstairs to look at the view from outside on the deck and broke my foot because I fell on a step that I didn't see. So here I am laid up in bed, unable to walk. It's the 13th and I'm going, darn, I really thought I could get through this one without a painful wake-up call. And yet the 13th brought me 5 years that I'm celebrating today of really the greatest phase of my whole life here in Arizona. And if I hadn't gone through the trauma of uprooting and getting here and then being put to bed by spirit with a broken foot, I would not be the person I am. I would not be a reverend. I would not be doing my greatest work. And so when you see a 13 in your life, and if anything happens on that date, you say, oh, portal to my great self and my highest work. So I'm going to really see what this is revealing to me. So today may be some form of nudge for some of you. And if you add all of the numbers together for December 13th, 2023, it brings you to the number 5, which is a day of change, a day of adventure, a day of courage for all of us. So courage, this morning I woke up having self-doubt about being on this call with all of you. Like, am I good enough? Can I do a good enough job? And so that courage of the heart, of the energy of today was like, yeah. And so you just jump in. So I say that to all of you today. If anything is holding you back or making you afraid, embrace that courage of the heart. It is the key to moving through this day with power and light.
What an incredible way to start the day. Wow. Now, I was just wondering if anyone in our audience or any of the social media pages, if they have any comments or questions for Reverend Sue, we're here for you. So, and I can ask her or we can talk about it. So while we're waiting for those questions, I'll just keep moving on. So with today, do you ever take into consideration U.S. astrology, like Mercury in retrograde, or yeah?
But I figured out long ago that my gift is I kind of invented a different way of doing the numerology where I take the sun sign and write that over the path of the soul mission. And then, because what I believe is, then I put my hand on that and then I intuitively download what that soul is trying to learn. Because the sun sign, for example, you, Charissa, you could have chosen any sun sign and you chose Taurus. Your soul chose it. And that was because you're such a beautiful, sensitive soul. And you said, in this life, I don't want to be pushed around. I don't want to be knocked over, so to speak. I really want to accomplish my mission and my goal of owning my power in every area of life. And Taurus is an assurance that I'm going to be strong enough that whatever comes at me, I can be grounded and strong. And yet the downside or the challenge of that is I can be very stubborn when I don't want to grow or change. And I'm sure you know both sides of that energy, right?
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. So, and I love Tauruses. Like, I would say probably most of my girlfriends are Tauruses, and my sister's a Taurus, because there's a great comfort. I'm a Virgo. And so that earth sign, I needed to be strong for this life. But I chose Virgo because I am a very stubborn person. I'm stubborn enough. And so if I had Taurus around me, my God, there would have been no hope for change. And so for me as a Virgo, I bring my analytical thinking to my 22 Master Soul path, which means I am here to look at kind of what's wrong with the world and what we need help with. Like the questions I had when Paul died: why is there suffering here? Why do we have to stay here when our loved one crosses? And those questions, that analytical seeking, sent me through Course in Miracles, Buddhism, Hinduism, theology, unity, everything, to finally find the answer that resonates as true for me, that God is a loving consciousness that runs this universe, not a man in the sky, but a loving consciousness that we are all part of. And when I landed on that, my Virgo mind was satisfied and said, this is correct. Now you got to share that with the world. And that's kind of the way Virgos navigate their path. So every sun sign we have shows us how to do our great work in the world. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's amazing. And more. I felt like I learned so much about the way you work. Well, here's a question from Carrie Hoffman. Is the numerology reading the same for everyone born on the same day? That is such a good question.
So glad you asked that. In
I
fact,
know. I didn't even think
asked,
about that.
I was just asked that Sunday night in I have a Patreon group. If any of you ever want to be a part of my little membership circle, we meet live once a month. You can ask me anything. That Patreon group is on my website. You can join. However, in that group, that's exactly the question that came up. One of my students said, you know, I loved working with numbers and I loved the reading. And then my monkey mind came in and said, well, how can this be true? Does this mean everybody born on my same date of birth is exactly? And I was like, no. Here's how it works. So all of us were hanging out in the divine realms, and we had already spent many lifetimes here doing different things. Like I'm very clear, I was an Apache female warrior in a previous lifetime, as well as some other things. And that's different from whatever you all were learning and experiencing in your previous lives. And so when my soul was hanging out in the divine and we heard the call to come to Earth to help humanity evolve, and we raised our hands and said, okay, and we wrote our life plans to come here, you know, I said, I need that 22-4 vibration, and I need the Virgo energy to help me accomplish it. And so I picked that date of birth. My soul picked it. And I brought into that date of birth energy all my past awareness, all my past lifetime challenges and gifts, even everything I had learned studying in the divine realms. And so I brought my soul to that path. Each of you have brought your ancient eternal soul to the path you're on, to your sun sign, I even say to our rising signs. Like I have a Pisces rising sign that makes me appear very soft and emotional. And it's true. I cry a lot, cry easily. And yet my Virgo sun helps me get it done. And my 22-4 4 path, I bring everything I've ever learned to accomplish it. So one way to answer the question is to say, you are not just this lifetime person who is living a physical life. You are an ancient, eternal, timeless soul. So that's what you bring to your date of birth.
Mm, that's so beautiful. I have another question, but I feel like they may need to just go to your website. They're asking how much you charge.
I have three different kinds of sessions. So it's kind of set up that whatever you
Okay.
can afford or whatever you're looking for. The simple numerology thing is a 1 hour. My favorite one is the 90-minute where actually we do your numerology and then I take you on a journey to the divine realms to have your own conversation with the guides. Because I'm a soul regression therapist, I was trained by the amazing Dr. Linda Bachman. And so my favorite thing is taking somebody into those realms and saying, now turn and ask your guide and listen to what they say. And then you have your own experience, because I can sit here going, oh, this is what you came to do, until I'm blue in the face. But it's a whole different thing when you're sitting in the divine realms. You're completely aware that it's real, and your counsel or your guides are saying, they're answering the questions you're asking, like, why did I agree to this life? What am I trying to learn? And so I love doing those kinds. And then I have a 2-hour soul regression where you can go back to a past lifetime. I'll guide you through it. And that's when we take the lessons from that life and say, oh, here's how they apply to where you are today.
Oh, that's amazing. And I just wanted to mention that Reverend Sue also has some amazing videos on Humanity Stream Plus. And we have one of those videos. So Jim or Garth, you want to play that video on sacred numerology?
You can learn through this course and through my workbooks and materials to help you view your life through the soul's lens, your divine lens that always offers you hope and healing and forgiveness and compassion. It is the only view of life that truly empowers us. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through the workbook that you've been given as part of this course, and we're just going to tie it all together for you.
So that's another way you can learn from Reverend Sue. Join Humanity Stream Plus and gain wisdom from sacred numerology or your life through a divine lens. Okay. Yeah, so we have another comment. Z says, nice to hear you're older when you started on your ministry journey. I think that's amazing also. So thank you for making a statement that will encourage me to keep going.
Yes,
so,
and do keep going. I mean, I really believe that a big problem with humans on Earth is we have this myth that, when I'm in my 70s, I need to sit around and play golf or play bridge. That is like the soul going, what? You think you're done with this life? And so you'll probably develop some kind of health problem to get you to wake up. Imagine if we're doing our true work all through as long as we can take a breath and be coherent. That's what I'm hoping for, planning for. And that's what we each came to do. But, honestly, memorizing scripture and things like that in ministry school, it was kind of hard. But we get through it at our older age. We find ways around things.
Yeah, that's so great. So Charlotte says, I feel motivated to make more of a contribution to the world, but don't know a clear path. So she's got that inner drive. Can numerology help her find that path?
Yeah. Do we have time? Do you want me to do a reading, or you just want me to answer in general for her?
Well, why don't you answer in general?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, numerology will help you. And I'll also say that all of my books talk about this. But my first book, I See Your Dream Job, the reason that one was so popular was I was really applying numbers and intuition directly to career. So if that's your starting place, that might really help you. But I'd also say my newest book, Through a Divine Lens, kind of helps you put it all together and say, here's why I've experienced grief and loss and anger, and here's how I'm meant to turn it into my true work. So I have a number of books that you can look at for those answers. I also have a sacred numerology workbook on Amazon that's very inexpensive, and you can buy that and it's going to give you more information as well. But numerology and intuition, and I want to make that a strong caveat, because numerology can be, at its worst form, it becomes sort of a superstitious thing, or it becomes like, oh, you're stuck with this number and that's going to be a hard life. I don't believe in any of that kind of interpretation of it. Mine is that our soul chose it for a reason, for our highest good. And so when I do numerology, the first thing I do is, after I figure out a person's path, I put my hand on it and I call in the guides and say, please give me the words to help this beautiful soul move forward and understand their purpose. And then I pick up my pen and start writing, automatic writing. And then the session begins and I share that from that intuitive spiritual perspective for the client. And I really urge people, when you study numerology, bring the sacred to it, bring your intuition to it. Or you can just get really lost in the different meanings of numbers, and it can actually hurt you in a way, because I've seen numerologists say, oh, you don't want to do anything on a 9 personal day. Well, that's not true. We're in the world. We have to do things. But what we can learn from numbers is, oh, well, the energy is telling me I need to be very surrendered and accepting on a 9 day. So that's my message about numerology being sacred.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And how do you distinguish sacred numerology from standard numerology?
Well, I watch other numerologists because I'm always curious, what they're about. And there's very many famous numerologists in the world. And I am very disappointed sometimes when I hear some of these people with so much power and so many followers saying things like, it's not your soul. The soul has nothing to do with it. In fact, this very famous numerologist doesn't even believe in souls.
Oh, really?
She says you're just randomly floating through the universe and you land on Earth on this certain day and it imprints an energy on you and you're kind of stuck with it and your soul didn't choose it. So my perspective is very different, and it came from my years of study since 1980, 40 something years of study, where I kept asking the guides, like, really show me the meaning of all of these numbers. And I've had so many guides come to me in my dreams and give me downloads, and I'd wake up going, oh, now I understand the real meaning of the number 7, and I'd write about it. So that's why I call it sacred, because it really, for me, is the way your soul is trying to remember the plan you made for this lifetime.
That's beautiful. And I believe Jim has another clip on sacred numerology from Humanity's Stream Plus. We could go to that.
Mm-hmm. Numbers are a sign from heaven, a sign from the divine about how to work with the energy here on Earth, how to use the flow of reinvention that we may find ourselves in, and what is the energy of the soul mission that I agreed to, that you agreed to, and what is the energy of our agreement together, our soul agreement. The numbers provide the answers to all of those questions. And if you ever hear in the traditional way people talking about numerology in a way that makes you think a number might have a bad influence on you or might be a bad sign, walk away from that, because I believe God is love. And these numbers are a pure channel of love and guidance and wisdom from the highest realms.
Beautiful. And I'll take one final question from the audience. Okay, do we usually need to bring the number down to a single digit? So like today on this call, there are 22 participants. So would it be coming down to adding these together?
So great question. And you can find the answers in all my workbooks and classes. But yes, in numerology, you bring everything to a single digit. However, there are three master numbers, the 22, the 30, the 11, the 22, and the 33, that you don't single digit in the final calculation. So even in my soul path calculator, that's why I do it the three different ways, so that you can go, oh, this person is a 33-6 master soul, but it only shows up one out of the three ways that numerologists traditionally add the birth date. And so you're missing the whole essence of it if you don't really look at those three ways. But to answer your question about the 22 people showing up here, wow, that's pretty cool. I hadn't noticed that because I'm
I hadn't either.
a 22 path, and 22 is the number of shifting consciousness, right?
Wow.
So it's perfect.
That's amazing. Well, what a way to end. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you, Reverend Sue, and learning about seeing the new year through a divine lens and sacred numerology. I wanted to thank the production team, Jim Gray, Garth Catterall, Dee Meyer, Andy Gutsky, and all the rest of the humanities team. Thank you so much. All the audience for joining us. Much love on your journey.
Thank you.